Great. So welcome to On the Mic with Ed. You are here with myself, Maria Ortiz, as well as Dr. Zoe Ross-Nash and her mother, Kathi Ross-Nash. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to primarily be talking about all things correlated between recovery and the fitness industry, recovery and fitness as a whole, covering both kind of some problematic areas in fitness as well as kind of some really safe spaces within fitness and how it can be used constructively in recovery.
Yeah, and we just want to thank our advertiser, Alsana. Alsana has wonderful treatment options in both Alabama and California, and they even have virtual options as well. So if you're looking for a treatment provider with the eating disorders, Alsana's a one to look for.
Well, let's kind of introduce our guest a little bit more. So Kathi, do you want to share a little bit about yourself, what you hope to get across today, a little bit about your story?
I'm Zoe's mom, first and foremost. So I was a former professional dancer. I danced with Ballet Clinic in New York for 10 years. And during that time, prior to that time, but during that time, I really got enraptured with the Pilates world. Upon retirement from the studio, from dancing, I became a Pilates instructor, not by choice, by need. I was teaching dance and I had a young dancer that injured her back, and I can't stand people in pain. So I started taking her to my home studio, and they had told her that she would always be without pain, never dance again. And she was dancing within 6 months. So I realized that this work could really, really, really improve the quality of people's lives, and that I had the understanding of it, that I could help perpetuate this. I could give this to somebody. So that kind of launched me into a career from just being a practitioner into someone who was an instructor and sharing the work.
Sharing the work of how Pilates is healing in nature.
It is organically healing from the way that the work begins by detoxifying from the inside out. And it really focuses on balancing the body. And if you understand somatics, if the body is balanced, the brain is balanced. It's not one or the other. I mean, I got very frustrated for many years with Pilates because it had this stigmatism that was the antithesis of the work. The work itself is to promote balance, physical and mental balance. And, I don't like using the term mind body because we aren't separate. My mind, the cells of my mind are connected to everything in me. It is me. I'm whole. I'm a being. My mind, my body, myself, my spirit are all one. And this work truly was created to holistically balance the body.
I can already tell I'm just going to love this segment because I'm already fascinated. I am somebody that I'm not extremely educated in the world of Pilates, so I'm excited and I hope our listeners are already learning. Even that description of my mind and body is not separate.
Yeah.
Man, I really want people to hear that message that the mind and body is one. I think that is just huge, and it shows that reciprocal relationship within our entire body.
Yes.
That taking care of all facets and from multiple points of view are what we need to do for a well-rounded sense of health, well-being, and happiness.
Oh, if we don't think about, if we don't care for the body, you can care for the mind, you can go for as much therapy as possible, but if you don't care for the body, if you don't care for yourself as a whole, you'll never fully recover, you'll never fully experience you.
Where do you think this passion came from of helping people or healing people from their pain?
Honestly, because I had a lot of pain in my life, and I knew it was very lonely, it was very negative, it was suffering. I mean, it was truly suffering physically, emotionally, everything. And to have somebody going through that and to know that you can do something to alleviate it, you can't not. I mean, even today, it's really hard for me because I'm trying to keep a balance in my life, but every person I see that's in pain, I'm like, I really want to take them to the studio and help them, have a better quality of life. It's very difficult. So it came from my own suffering and understanding and not wanting another being to go through that.
I love that point you made, that sometimes when we're finding balance in our own life, it means that we can't necessarily give everything that we have. And you have to be ensuring, what does health look like in my life right now?
That is something very, very important. And it took me a long time to learn that. Because I would see somebody you know, somebody, I would work from morning to night and I'm like, but I can't, because if I don't work, then they get injured, or they, they don't, their quality of life, and it's made my quality of life suffer. And I think about my mentor, Ramona Krasinowska, one day she was teaching this woman. And the woman was not listening to her, and she was telling her what to do against the wall. And the woman fell forward and she stepped out of the way. And I looked at her and she, she was an older woman. She said, if she hurts me, I've only saved one person. But if I care for myself, I can take care of many others. And that resonated with me in a larger aspect, that I really started to grasp the understanding that if I don't care for my physical, mental, self well-being, I am not going to be beneficial to do what I want with others, whether that means that I spend time in my studio or with my dogs or writing my books, I have to fill my cup so that I can share my cup with others.
That, I mean, this is so prevalent in the mental health field. If we are not taking care of ourselves, if we have compassion fatigue, what good is adding an extra client on our day when we are then burning ourselves out for the day later?
Right.
And I think it's just that idea, just because we can doesn't mean we should. I believe that we're in a room of women that can very easily work all day long, no qualms.
Oh, yes.
And if anything, we might even thrive that way, but just because we can doesn't mean we should. And where is that time for us to truly reflect for ourselves? So if we are modeling and telling our clients, I want you to be happy, I want you to be without pain. But then we also have been at the office from, when the sun rose to when it came back down. It's like good boundaries for us to remember as well. And I love the way that we are just discussing this, as it can be so healing, because I feel like, especially in the eating disorder world, fitness sometimes gets a bad name.
Yes.
Exercise in general can be weaponized, and I always tell my clients, I'm never going to weaponize exercise. Exercise is fabulous, movement can be fabulous. It needs to be at the right time and in the right way, but there's a lot of language out there that kind of really weaponizes exercise and recovery, and maybe could force or say the best way is none, right? Or just stay away from the bad thing. And I think that creates even a harsher narrative that creates more problems. What are your guys' thoughts?
I agree. I mean, I think that when you make something, you weaponize something, you make it negative, you make it more seductive too. And then you bring the focus there, and then people as well, I'm not supposed to, but I'm gonna do it, one, you need to find your safe fitness community, where the focus is on wellness, the focus is on movement, the focus is on balance, that it's not, the negative stigmatisms that come. You go to a facility that has been trained in how they, like the program that you teach, how how people speak if they have, if they see an issue, how to make your studio a safe space. Because in actuality, fitness, health, wellness should all be the same. And I get very frustrated with the fitness industry because they use exercise to shame people. They use it to make money by weaponizing this work, by degrading people, by putting them down for their actions as opposed to lifting them up. Come to work out, you'll feel better. Moving, your mind will be clear, as opposed to negative stigmatisms that they use, or the images that they use to motivate. I use before and after photos, but my before and after photos are about alignment. And you see the change in the person's face after 3 lessons in a row. You see their alignment is straight. That's where the focus is on, something positive as a whole for this being.
Where other fitness instructors might use before and after photos to evaluate weight loss.
Correct,
And yours is on functionality.
functionality. And you know, we always, well, workout, weight loss, no. No, some people, you need to build muscle. A lot of people think you need to build muscle, especially right now with what is happening in the world with the medications that people are on. They need to build muscle because the muscle is being destroyed. And you know, quite honestly, as a 60-year-old woman, I look at my peers that have been suffered their lives because of stigmatisms that smaller is better, and their bones are breaking and they can't move and they're in chronic pain because of there wasn't enough muscle pulling on the bone. You know, I want to create an army of people that are physically and mentally strong, and the Pilates studio to me is the best place to do it.
Well, you're already kind of inspiring me to get more involved with that. But it actually reminds me of when you said the safe studio, my brain went to this yoga studio that I'd done yoga in my life before when I was a college athlete.
Right.
But it was required and it was at 6 a.m.
Right.
And it was supposed to be our rest day. And I just got a really bad taste in my mouth about it. So when I tried it again later on, I was completely enamored and amazed because at one point he said, now it's time to go upside down. And he said, you can do a headstand, you can do a handstand, you can put your legs in the air, whatever you'd like. I'm an ex-gymnast. So I'm like, well, I should be able to pull off the handstand. He said, just meet yourself where you're at. He said, go to the wall. He said, I shouldn't meet the wall. He said, go to the wall. He said, go. And I just remember feeling so safe that it was okay that I didn't have to meet a standard. And he was like, great work. And I got to slowly excel each week. And I think that just shows that was just one studio and one experience. It changed so much for me because my brain had been wired for years to be competitive and be
Right.
And I looked around and some people were just laying on their back with the feet in the air. Some people just had their feet slightly elevated. And he was like, great work, everyone. And it was just the coolest thing that we were just taking care of our bodies, not pushing it past the limit. Right. And if anything, I think our muscle responds to being taken care of, not even always completely challenged, right? If it
Right.
needs rest, then we were resting. And I just really enjoyed that language. I'm really grateful that you've created the space that you have for individuals. I can only imagine the impact that you're having for people, the way that you talk about your work. I think it just shows there's so many more people like you out there.
Yes, there are.
Right, there are, but who gets talked about? Nina's not portraying that because, right, what's gonna get more clicks? Probably not something that's helping people.
No,
As you were talking, Mom, I was actually thinking about how in eating disorder treatment, we tell our clients, hey, this is different than any other mental health disorder. You actually have to relearn how to have a relationship with the very thing that is causing you so much fear and
Yes.
insecurity. We really encourage that with food.
Right.
But exercise is a huge part of eating disorder pathology.
yes,
And it's really not tended to within our work as frequently, I would say. And you need to relearn how to have a healthy relationship with exercise because exercise is a part of a balanced life.
yes.
So how do we learn how to incorporate exercise into recovery? That's an important question. When you're able to safely engage.
But you know, you
exercise.
have to, you know, what you said about this is where you are now, what we learn when you have an eating disorder or you are a competitive athlete or a dancer, what you learn to succeed is not healthy.
Yeah, we had a whole podcast on that.
This is great.
It's not healthy. Learning to meet yourself where you are that day at that moment is, and giving yourself that grace and to understand that I'm never gonna do this exercise again. So what? On my gravestone, it won't say that at 60, Kathy didn't wanna hang from her toes anymore. I mean,
How dare she?
how dare she? You know, like seriously, like you think about it, you know, but you do have to relearn and you have to change the focus that it goes from being weight loss focus to feeling good with movement and feeling good about yourself and relieving stress. I mean, Pilates, the original work is designed to basically de-stress and detoxify the body. Stress creates toxins. So, right, so you literally bring your body from the inside out in this method if you do it correctly. So to have that experience at the end of a workout, at the end of a workout, you feel euphoric. You don't feel beaten up, you don't feel dead, you feel lifted, you feel light, you feel great, you feel focused, and this is to recalibrate your thinking that this is the expectation of a workout. This is the expectation of movement. It is the same as when you have an eating disorder to understand this is good. Yes, this food is emotional. Yes, this meal, I'm sharing a meal between, yes, it's sustenance. There's so many components to it. And you have to remember, you have to relearn how much is good and that find that balance. And you can in the right situation. And you have to give yourself grace if you don't always do it right.
I love the way you just shared about that because it sounds kind of like the antithesis of an eating disorder, the way you described feeling euphoric and feeling energized and feeling just like one with yourself, where the eating disorder says you should be feeling ragged, you should be pushing yourself harder. Do not meet yourself where you're at today. You can do better than yesterday. Yes, be completely empty, feel nothing. So it's really interesting how everything you were saying there, I actually noticed, wow, like it's the opposite of what the eating disorder wants.
Right.
I think that's a testament to the work that you do because what you're doing is going to bring those senses of feeling overall emotionally, physically well. I think that's why the eating disorder attacks in the way that it does to
Yes.
make you feel like it's taken everything.
Yes.
It's going to dysregulate everything that it can.
Right.
You also brought up a very good existential point of the gravestone. I think that's huge for our clients that maybe struggle with some OCD rigidity around their exercise behaviors of X amount of minutes or X amount of reps, that it's not going to stay on their gravestone. Gosh darn it, they missed one of those reps that day.
On
Right?
January 25th,
Yes.
2025.
They did
She
fuck
left out a rep.
Exactly. So I actually really like that perspective because it's not like we're going to put the reps on the gravestone. It just shows that the eating disorder makes it all feel like it is going to be on that gravestone. It makes it sound like it's going to be bolded. So that's an excellent reminder as well.
Well, it's very easy to have that voice in your head take over instead of, one thing that I love about Pilates is that it is really a moving meditation. Like during the entire thing, you are so aware of everything that you're doing that it gives you a break from, and for me, like that was a big thing. It gave me a break from being in my head. Like you feel your feet on here, you're moving through here, you feel this push here, this pull here. You have these physical contact points that you are aware of. That break from that voice in the head. And the work is not about how many repetitions you did, how fast you went. It is really about how you feel.
So functional exercise is about how am I connecting to my body, not how am I modifying my body.
Yes.
And if we can have more fitness instructors that encourage that, it'll be a safer place, one, for people with eating disorders to go to, and two, maybe not perpetuate the stigmas we have about lesser is better in terms of our body.
And modify, where you said modify, you are trying to change your body, but into a more functional body.
Right.
Not the form, but the function, the alignment.
The physiology.
Yes,
Making it into a healthier body.
yes,
So
making it to a
You
healthier,
can
stronger.
reach whatever's on the top shelf without straining your back.
Exactly.
And I think too, you point out why we need more fitness instructors that are educated. And also I think we need more ED specialists that are actually educated with the realm of fitness too,
Yes.
because I have heard countless clients that come to me, at the end of their journey, and I'll mention something about movement and I go, oh, I'm not allowed to do movement. Well, why? Granted, there are some times that due to the body, if we're in certain states,
Of course.
but that's not some of these clients, and it's just been completely barred or weaponized. And then actually they're completely disconnected from their body because they don't experience it at all. They don't spend any time with their body. And I'm like, well, this is some movement we need to make. And it reminds me of my own even recovery. Exercise was certainly weaponized. It wasn't looked at as how can we integrate this in a powerful way, in an impacting way. It was, if Maria's doing this, it's bad.
Right.
We need to keep Maria from doing this. And I think that's been language in the recovery world for quite some time.
Well, if you also think about the somatic response, right? So when you are not moving, when you're stuck up in here, you get tight, you get smaller, you close in, right? When you don't move, what happens? You go like this. That perpetuates feelings of sadness, feelings of anxiety, feelings of tension, feelings of hiding, feeling of I need to be smaller. Whereas when you are moving and you're opening things, you are relieving that
You're taking up
stress
space.
and you are taking up space. And when you that in Pilates, that's what I want to do. I want to take up space. I want to bend back over that barrel. I want to spread myself on the mat. I want to be open, open. I want space in every joint of my body.
And the eating disorder says be as small as you can. Do you believe that Pilates can be used in a powerful way in eating disorder recovery based on what
Oh,
you said?
100%. 100%. I mean, for me, you know, so the funny thing is when I was dancing, I was actually sent to Pilates for the negative reason. I was sent because I struggled with, my eating disorder and I struggled with weight and I was not, the dancer picture. And so I was sent to become smaller. And when I was first with Pilates, and you hear me say it, I'm like, I hated it. I hated it. When I began my recovery and I went back, I loved it. I loved it. And my mentor taught me in a very different way at that point. I don't know whether she had had changes or she was at a different point in her life. But when I went back, I was doing martial arts. I was still dancing. I had the children, and it was about strength. And my strength was, you know, uh, looked up. They'd be like, oh, Kathy can do that with the men. Kathy can do that with men. And then the other women started wanting to do it with the men. They wanted to do all the strength exercises. So it was such a positive experience when I went back because the focus had changed. So that is something that is imperative when you find an instructor, they need to understand what the real focus of this work is.
So what do you recommend fitness instructors who are wanting to make their classes or their sessions to be a more inclusive or safe place for people with eating disorders?
They need to become educated. They need to understand how their own language affects other people. They need to understand how they speak about themselves will affect other people, how they discuss exercise, how they discuss food or nutrition or anything when you are working, when you're doing your sessions. But to me, education is the most important thing. If we can educate the instructors that we are here, the health and wellness, we are here for fitness instructors are for health. Fit does not mean thin. Fit means fit, strong, healthy, resilient. That's what fit means.
Wow, and did society take that word and just run it the opposite way?
Well,
I'm sure you've heard horror stories.
I see horror stories every day. In my industry, I mean, everybody knows, uh, the way that it is here, and that at my studio at the ranch, you're very safe. They know my instructors are that way. They know they can come here and not be judged. Uh, by your size, by laziness is another thing, that's a whole thing. Because because listen, everything, if you want to realign your body, if you want to be in a healthy, just like going to therapy. You
Yeah,
can't,
you have to
you can't
put
show,
in-
you have to put in the work in
Yeah.
therapy. You can't just show up and go, fix me.
Right.
You can't, I can't do, you have to put the work in here too. Now, the work doesn't mean 10 hours on that. No, the work means that you put the work in understanding your body, that you understand your movement, that you do your routines, that you get that moving meditation, you balance your mind, you balance your body, you balance yourself. That's what the work means. That it's not gonna go poof, it's poof, you're better, poof, you're balanced, that's not gonna happen. So, that's when I get working, right?
I hear a lot of your underlying theme of like intention. What is the intention behind this? What is the functionality behind what I'm doing? And it reminds me of a question that I ask my clients. And it is, if your body would not change, would you still engage with this movement? So if they're approaching the treadmill, ask, my body had no chance of changing, but I still do this movement. And that's how we can see, am I doing this to change my physical form in a manner to thin fit? Or am I doing this for myself as a whole? Am I doing this for my overall well-being? So I like that question because it really challenges what is my intention like here. The other thing that you are bringing up is just complete mindfulness while engaging with fitness and acknowledging, how is my body feeling? Am I stretching? Am I feeling these things? Where usually what I hear from clients when they're working out is, how can I completely disengage to go longer? How can I completely stop feeling so that I can push harder, so I can do another rep?
But that's a very eating disorder
Right.
focus. I mean, I remember my first day of recovery. Like it was yesterday. I remember having been so disengaged. And I was in Arizona. I sat down on the grass. I took an apple, bit the apple, I tasted it.
Wow. Like what is it like to taste food for the first time?
Yeah.
And paralleling it to what is it like to feel your body and
To feel your body yes,
Yeah.
and not, and then that would, and I smelled the grass and I felt the sun and like this is being alive.
I was gonna say, you lived.
I lived. And the more we disengage, the less we live. And that to me is like, when I have a student that comes in and they are suffering, like part of me wants to go, stop. You're not feeling, this is not living life, this is not feeling life, this is not being here, and our time here is this big. So enjoy it, enjoy your body, enjoy yourself, enjoy it. And disengaging by going on a treadmill for whatever and going, oh, I'm not gonna feel it, I'm not going, and just go, 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 I'm not here, is the worst thing. Instead of being 100% here.
Growing up in a Pilates studio, as your daughter, you see all the equipment, right? So it can be dangerous to do Pilates and not be mindful.
Very.
So if you are caught up in the mental chatter of, oh gosh, what does my body look like right now? You're potentially putting yourself in a very dangerous situation.
Yes.
So what I appreciate about Pilates is, one, it gets you connected to your body because you're learning how to keep your body safe.
Yes.
Due to the extreme nature of some of the equipment, like the Cadillac and
Oh,
the
yes.
equipment. So
Absolutely.
if you're not tuned into your body and know exactly where that big toe is, you could end up severely injured.
Yes.
I love that you're learning how to keep your body safe, because it sends a signal that my body deserves to be kept safe.
Yes. Yes.
Because man, the eating disorder says your body deserves nothing. You deserve nothing. And this is sending a signal, I deserve safety, I deserve happiness, I deserve overall health and well-being. That day that you described the apple, I kind of had a little moment with you too, because I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
There's a moment when you wake up.
Yeah.
And it's the day that I look forward to for all of my clients.
Yes.
Because there's a day that you finally, every sentence that was said to you all of a sudden feels applicable to you.
Yes.
Wow.
That never felt applicable before, all of a sudden it's like, you know what, maybe that does make sense. And everybody's been saying, you're not thriving, you're surviving. You're like, yeah. And that day, whoa,
Right.
I'm out of survival mode and I'm I'm allowed to keep myself safe, but I'm also allowed to prosper at the same time.
Yes. I always ask my clients when they would come to me, what are you here for? Why are you here? And I think that is the first step into self-care. If they say to me, oh, I'm here because I want to lose weight, I want this and that, I'm like, this is not your place. this night place. Not saying that it doesn't happen for some, you know, whatever, it, cause some bodies balancing, that happens. But if they want a better quality of movement, if they want to function, if they wanna, what's Joe Pilates' name of his book? Return to life. Return to life, and as in Pilates instructors, we should always remember that was the focus of this work, was return to life, movement. And so that's what that's what I want them, what I want for my clients, what I want for my students, for them to have some aspect that they want to be revitalized. And my teachers to revitalize others.
And you might be one of the only places in today's society that if somebody says, I'd like to lose weight, you say this isn't the place. You can find in the fitness world, that's pretty rare. Most of people are like, yeah, let's sign you up. But I also love how you didn't demonize weight loss either. Weight loss as a whole it's not a bad thing.
No.
Right? It is bodies are allowed to change. And I love that you said it's just not the intention. I'm coming here to feel better in my body, but a body's allowed to change. And sometimes I've had to tell clients that too. They're like, man, if they're farther in their recovery and they've been sustaining, maybe they're engaging with movement again. They're like, oh no, but I think the scale might have changed. I'm like, it's okay. You know, but the eating disorder puts everything in extremes. That everything is black and white, weight loss bad, weight gain good, you know, no fitness good. Like it puts them in these boxes, and I love that you've just completely dismantled those boxes and said find your way today too, and that might look different than tomorrow or yesterday.
Absolutely.
One of my youngest memories as a child is you were on the phone with someone and you were like, you can't just lose weight in your stomach, that's a stupid thing to say. And I think that a lot of fitness instructors advertise based off of myths.
Yeah.
You come to my Pilates class, you're gonna lose weight in your stomach, you're gonna lose weight in your arms. If we are truly treating fitness as a way to improve life and be functional, it shouldn't just be one specific area of your body, it's how is my body moving together.
Right.
Not separate parts.
Not separate parts, once again, one being. I mean, you know what we have to always remember is that the body is whole. Some people will lose weight, some people will not lose weight. You want to be the healthiest that you could be. And that's it. I mean, you really want to be healthy. But the focus is on functionality. How are you going to function the best?
And it's usually going to be that whole systems approach that gets you there. What's interesting is that the eating disorder completely separates your entire body.
Right.
So if you ask a client, how do you feel about your body? They will not say good or bad. They'll say, well, my stomach is bad, my arms are okay, my thighs are that. Everything is completely segmented. And I think that's how it weaponizes it, because you're so much less powerful if you're separate. Where if you are together, you can fight. And I think that's why it'll weaponize the stomach, but then this part's okay.
Right.
But most of my clients, I don't get one answer. If I ask, do you feel the same about your entire self? No, I'll always hear multiple.
See, I get so frustrated about advertisement for Pilates, because they say core, oh, it'll work your core. He never said that. He never ever said that. That is a marketing target. You want Pilates abs, you want, no. Pilates body, no. What Joseph H. Pilates said was, it is a full body engagement. Think of those words, full body engagement. All of you moving together as a symphony, not as, you know, your stomach is an oboe, your arms are a violin, your feet are piano. No, the whole body plays a symphony together and works together. He never said, I hate that. When I hear they're like, oh, come work your core. I'm like, and what about the rest of you?
Right.
Not separated.
And even the eating disorder usually says, fix the core too. And I think that's why society is weaponized it, because it grabs attention quick.
Yes.
Because it demonizes a core.
Yes.
That is just human, a human core, right?
Yes.
But that's so interesting, because for somebody that is not incredibly educated in this field, I actually was completely unaware that the core is not something that's strongly emphasized in your work because of what I've heard.
Yes. Yeah. It's all, the history of it it became popular and the method itself was lost into these group mat classes where people just come and work out and you do this one part of the work and it didn't address. I mean, the beautiful thing about Pilates is it's so much like therapy because no one person's workout is the same. Your path, so, some clients you might use DBT, another, what you might use another type of mindfulness or technique. With Pilates, I might, when I'm building the skills of someone, I have to look at their body,
The person.
what this, and how I communicate with them. How do you communicate? What equipment do I use? What path of exercises do I progress you with? How do I progress you? When do I progress you? Do I not progress you? There's so many, and your path would look so different than your path. So that people don't wanna, they wanna make money, so they're like, everybody in this class, everybody does the same thing. Everybody says, oh, it's your core, work your core. Make money. Make money.
It was quick and it was efficient and it probably didn't leave everybody feeling fabulous.
No, it did not.
I
Well,
was,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking about the typical person you think of who does Pilates. It's likely a tall, thin woman who might not be as welcoming and accepting of a person who might be coming into the Pilates class for the first time. And I was just thinking of how scary that must be for our clients who are entering fitness for the first time and feeling so judged and unwelcomed to a space like that, and how much they're going to miss out on an opportunity connecting with their body, connecting with the community, because this idea of, well, you're here to lose weight, you're here to
Right.
look like me.
Right. But you have to remember, Joe Pilates was a stout redneck German dude who smoked cigars and drank schnapps and had beer and like he had a very vibrant life. Um, that is the creator of this method. It wasn't this leaf dancer like woman, it was a strong German man that did it. The dancers took it over because we're not stupid. We knew that it would keep us dancing longer. We were sent to him with injuries. So, we knew that this work had these rehabilitative and balancing, which we needed balance, put us on our leg, put us in alignment, right? So the dancers flocked to it. But it was really brought here for boxers, for gymnasts, martial artists. And when I say gymnasts, I don't mean like gymnasts of today, I mean like the actual gymnasiums at the time, people, fitness, real fitness, to be strong, to be rowers, divers, jumpers. It was meant to create strength and balance, not this undernourished type of look.
And it sounds like it was meant to be tailored to each individual
Yes,
person.
It was.
And that is very similar in eating disorder work as well, because as you pointed out, we might use certain therapeutic interventions with some clients and not others. That's important for other specialists to realize.
Right.
There is not a one size fits all.
Correct.
And it's also why I never answer the question when a client goes, well, how long until I feel this? I'll never get that answer because I'm like, well, I said, I do know that it's going to be your unique timing. I can tell you that, but I don't know. But then it also shows the need for education because
Yes.
you know how to tailor to
Yes.
individual people. You know what to look for.
Yes.
You could probably create a plan for me today because you are educated, but we also can't have people trying to tailor individually if they don't have the education to back it up as well.
Correct. They definitely need the training, they need the hours, they need to train with somebody who has actually worked with bodies as opposed to people who graduate from programs and become master instructors and start their own training program. They have to be with somebody who I've spent 35 years training students before I really started training teachers. More than probably 40 years. But the thing is when I look at a Pilates journey, it reminds me very much of a recovery journey. It is very individualized from the beginning. It is tailor-made for you, step by step, so that you learn the skills you need to progress forward. And then you start becoming a little more independent, so from just me, Taylor, working with my client, then they start coming in the studio and maybe working in a group, but they're all responsible for themselves. They know their variation, they know where they go for this exercise. You do it on the high chair, you do it on the window chair, you go to the Cadillac, you do the short box on the ladder barrel, they all know, right? And then they come to the studio and use it as a gym, fully independent. So to me, it reminds me a lot of recovery where it's tailor-made with your therapists and your dietitians and your whole trifecta of people that are working with you. And then you go, okay, now I'm gonna go into a group situation where I'm gonna integrate it into life. I'm gonna take it out, I'm with other people, and then you take it on your own in life, and you are responsible for yourself.
What I'm hearing is that we as providers and the eating disorder treatment team need to start including fitness instructors,
Absolutely.
because we are only there for an hour a week, and the application of our skills in the fitness community could be the application to life.
Yes.
And bringing fitness providers into the consult space would be really life changing for clients.
I agree, I mean, just the psychological benefits of movement alone, the release of endorphins, the sense of connecting to yourself physically. I mean, but like we said, they need to be educated, they need to know how to speak, they need to know what not to say, what to say, and how to make it a safe space.
How would you do that?
I would have your program. No, I'm not joking. So we, when Zoe got into this profession, which I'm very grateful, we spoke a lot about, the integration and the negative components of the stigmatism with fitness and why it was not a safe place. So then we started really talking about, and she developed this program that helped to make the fitness area safe. Not only safe, but elevating. So I mean, you need programs like that. We need mainstream fitness to stop being about the negative and focus on the negative. We need mainstream fitness to embrace the power of positivity, the power of getting people to move for healthy reasons, not for negative reasons, not to shame them into the studios, not to shame them into the gyms, not to shame them into fitness, but to tell them you will feel good about you. You will feel alive. You will return to life if you incorporate positive movement into your recovery.
Would it be safe to say that the way that you train actually then gives your clients autonomy to continue to better themselves? They now have the
Absolutely.
skills. Well, that I see an issue in the industry, because then how are they going to get people to come back? You want your clients to flourish and blossom. But I think a lot of what is marketable and a lot of what generates some money is keeping people coming back. Shame creates a fabulous cycle
Oh,
for
it
people
does.
to continue.
But there's ways to organize your studio so that people come back independently.
And because they're inspired, not because they're afraid.
Correct.
So we need fitness professionals to stop shaming their clientele into their spaces, rather inspiring them to live
Yes.
more functional
I
life.
mean, I would have, when I had my studio with my students, you would work individually, then you'd work in a group, and then you'd come and you'd work out on your own. So while they were working out on their own, I made more money, because they're working out on their own and I'm starting with a new person here.
And this is what people need to hear too, though, is that you can
Yes.
still be a successful businesswoman, you can still be a successful
I didn't have enough-
instructor.
I don't have enough time to teach, thank God, goodness. I don't have enough time in my schedule to fulfill the demand, and it is only, and my students are the same way. And it's only in a positive way, making a my teachers teach like I do, they are welcoming like I do. Like I am, they have trained with Zoe, they have the positive vernacular. Their spaces are welcoming and non-judgmental, unless you don't work hard. You know, I have to clarify that, I gotta put the work in. They are filled.
And I think too, we need the instructors to one, be educated with, yes, a program like what you have. They also need to want it and see how this is damaging individuals. We're talking a lot about how language impacts so much. I wish that that's where the awareness needs to be spread because people need to know how problematic some of the fitness industry is.
But realize that, shame doesn't work.
Not for long.
Right.
Not for long.
Shame doesn't work. And that's why they cycle through people, and that's why they have to keep advertising, and yet shame doesn't work, cause they'll come. It's not gonna work, and then they'll leave, or worse, if with an eating disorder. If you are involved with an eating disorder and you go to this fitness and then it doesn't give the result you want, you don't wanna show up again because you've failed. So the shame that they've used to bring you in will keep you away.
Yeah, the true health and well-being that you are promoting actually generates people to continue to come back. It generates
Absolutely.
consistency.
Yes, absolutely. And desire to be there,
I think too, something that goes on in this industry or even in our own profession is that people have their own stuff, right? You have spent years to do the work for yourself. So that's why I can
Yes.
hear you saying work hard, because I can also hear you saying, I did it. I
Oh,
know
yes.
it's hard and I've done it. But I think that's where maybe a lot of professionals don't want to engage with that. Even some of my colleagues that are more general practitioners in the field, they look at the hours and they look at the time that it would take to become a specialist and they're like, man, I don't want to do it.
Right.
And I think that's maybe what other fitness professionals might not feel that drive.
And they don't.
But they want their clients to work hard in class.
Right. And it also takes a lot of courage. So I supervise trainees on how to become an eating disorder specialist. And they asked me like, oh gosh, like what is it like for your body to be constantly evaluated in the therapy space? And I say it takes a lot of courage for me every day to show up in my body and let it be an object of their eating disorder. And that would require self-reflection in fitness providers. So if they're not taking the time to reflect on, oh gosh, what is my behavior doing to contribute to people's pain? That's a tough way to look at yourself.
It is a tough way to look at
And a
yourself,
lot of people don't wanna do that.
but that's a huge statement what you just said. What is my behavior doing to contribute to other people's pain? That is the antithesis of what we should be doing.
Yeah.
My behavior should never, I'm totally saying that, should never,
I made a mental note as
ever,
well.
I was like, click, that was good. My behavior should never add to somebody's pain.
So if you are a fitness instructor and you are teaching a class and you say a comment like, I can see your Thanksgiving meal.
You contributed to their pain.
You just contributed to their pain.
I'm actually thinking back to coaches through my years, and a lot of in the athletics world. I think it's actually expected to contribute to pain because then they think that
Yeah, but-
increases resilience, which
Okay,
is terrible.
But let's, you wanna put it on the map, put it on
Yeah.
on the table. They don't care about you.
Right.
They don't care about you. They don't. They don't care about your longevity. They don't care about your survival. They don't care about your mental well-being. They want a product, they want you to perform, they want you to go be the trick pony, do what they want.
For as long as they need to and as long as you put out to pasture, they don't.
They'll
care.
replace you.
Yeah. When my son, your Zoe's brother, was a football player, he did Pilates and yoga. Well, he was in high school, didn't lift weights. So I got a weightlifting degree online, it was so hard to get.
Which is scary, right?
That's
That
guys,
helps you.
yeah, it took me like 20 minutes. And I went to argue with these coaches. Zach was, I'm not gonna name the schools, but there's a couple schools that were recruiting him from high school. And this one coach was like, well, I make blah blah blah, I make football players, I make this. And I looked at him, I said, I don't care. I said, I want my child to be able to walk when he is 40. I want my child to be able to move when he is 40. I said, you care about creating winning teams, good for you. I care about creating healthy individuals.
It's really cool to hear you say those sentences because I did have one really positive coach.
Mhm.
And that's actually an exact sentence she said to me one day. I've had a lot of injuries and surgeries and such. She said, Maria, I want you to be able to run and play with your kids someday. She said,
Yeah.
Maria, I want you to be able to move your body how you'd like
Yes.
after all this. But what's interesting is I can name that one coach that just truly made an impact. I know you in this fitness industry, I know what you do. I don't have a slew of other names that I'm like, oh wow, I love the way that they train. They're creating whole humans, not just athletes.
Right.
They're helping strengthen individuals as a whole. I love hearing that you're like, I care about my son. I don't care that he's just the football player. You care about the son, and you're absolutely right, though, that we have to watch out. And that's where it's hard for us as providers. I never want to weaponize movement. I want to encourage movement for my clients. I want them to be in their bodies, experiencing their bodies. And also, we need more resources that we can trust.
Right, right. Well, just so that, I don't want your viewers to think that, so he didn't go on and do really
Oh,
well.
my brother was a collegiate athlete.
Yes,
in football.
he was the
Best in the
first,
state.
best in the state. He was in high school, he was the first freshman. And I said to the coach, if he's not performing, we'll revisit this weightlifting. We never had the conversation again. And Zach brought friends to do Pilates, and to this day, some of them still do it.
And it's sad because as I've started this company of treating fitness providers on how to become eating disorder informed, I've been met with a lot of resistance. And they say, oh, it's so needed in the field, but not for mine because I'm actually capitalizing on eating disorder in my community. So it's very frustrating because they're not wanting to do the work.
Right.
So this was such a riveting conversation. I mean, I could talk to you for 30 years. And I'm just so proud to have you as my mom. But yes, another thank you to Alsana, our treatment center that was kind enough to advertise with us. And again, we have treatment centers in California and Alabama, as well as virtual options. And any last comments before we wrap up?
I would like to thank you ladies for inviting me in this forum and for allowing me to be part of somebody else's recovery.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We are truly appreciative. You just shared very invaluable information. So we appreciate you. We appreciate the work that you do and the impact that you have on this world. Okay, so whoever you are, wherever you are, take a seat with us.